Hello everyone, back on this roof again, going to do a bit more today. I think I said at the end of the last video, what I'm going to be working on today is this gable end detail. I've got to try and get a bit of an eaves detail to extend the rafters out a bit. So I'm going to set a scaffold up across this end and then get into it. So I've got my scaffold set up and I'm looking now at how I'm going to extend out. I've cut a piece of rafter here. I'm basically got to extend out to get like a decent size sort of overhang past this brickwork. So I think what I'm going to do on this side is I'm going to take the opportunity of actually, rather than sort of cutting it here and cantilevering it back to that one, what I'm actually going to do is stick it in the web. So in effect, if this is my piece of timber, I'm going to put that in there. I've got to take this raft off anyway, so I can cut that piece off, and then this bit of rafter here can go all the way back, and that'll be supported by that steel. And then what I'll do this end is slightly different. I shall probably put a square cut down here somewhere and then fix this other bit of rafter that I've got, or support, whatever you want to call it, all the way back to that one. And then when the brickwork's brought up underneath it, it'll give it support here, and then it should act as a cantilever. I'm not going to make it overhang as much as it's hanging back, if that makes sense. So I think it's probably about a 750 to 800 mil between that point and the point of the cantilever, which is the brickwork, and I think I'm going to make it come out another maybe 400 or 500, depending on what the customer wants. It hasn't got to take much weight, it's only really got to take the little bit of roof that hangs over it, bit of slate. So I've got this pier or reveal here is 900 mil, so what I'm going to do is measure back the same this end. So I've got 900, I can't even see that, sun's in the screen. I've got 900 mil from here back to here, so when you stand back and look at the gable end, with the barge on, it'll look equal. So I'm going to make a start on that. I've got to take this rafter off both sides, and I screwed that on deliberately in case I did have to take it off, because at the top here I'm going to have to stick a couple of, I can't obviously cantilever it through on the top here. What I'm going to do is cut some solid blocks in here and stick them out and fix them with those big long screws through the end there. And I think that should be enough to hold it, bearing in mind also, as I said in the previous video, there's another steel beam coming on the outside here, which an oak framed gable window sits on, so there will be a degree of support in that frame itself. But I'm not relying on that, but it all adds to help, stiffen the whole thing up. I think I'm going to struggle there, aren't I? It's going to be tricky to fix those two long noggins at the top there on my own, so I think what I'm going to do is cut a piece of timber and wedge it into the web, and then temporarily screw it in the side, and then I can screw it from the back. I think I'll just clamp those actually temporarily. Get my clamps. Got the big Bessie. It's going to take quite a lot of clamping force, I think. Superb. What are they like? That's pretty strong. Pretty strong. Nice. Happy with that. That's nice and strong. So we're starting to look really good now. This piece of timber's in, that's really super strong, obviously fixed that steel. I've got these two noggins which are bolted through the web of the steel. They're pretty strong, quite happy with that. And then I'm going to now I've cut these two rafters, marked those and cut those. So I'm now going to put those back in, and then I can get that final sort of noggin support out, and then we can have a look at getting all of these supports and noggins in the same line. And I'll probably then look at putting a set of rafters, or a couple of sets of rafters in, obviously to take the roof. What I'll probably do there is make sure I get a straight edge through, pull a line or pull a straight edge through, so that they all line through nicely. So, but yeah, looking really good so far. Happy with that. Right, so we've got everything in place, almost ready. I've cut these to length. Those top support noggins, they were cut to length and I put them in. I've cut that other one off to length to get me the same overhang. What I basically did there is pretty easy. As I've said many times, this steelwork is absolutely perfect, and it's dead upright across, dead plumb with itself across this gable. So I was able just to literally, those noggins at the top were 750mm. So I was able to just put a straight edge down the side of this beam, put a mark onto there, measure back 65mm, which is the depth of the flange back to the web, and then just measured out 750mm from here to the end and cut that off. So I know that this outside set of rafters that I'm going to put on are all going to be the same. Going and working on my own here, so I've had to try and put some additional bits on to help me. So what I've done is put a couple of bits of timber across. This is obviously at top rafter level, and what I should try and do is place these rafters on which I've cut a plumb cut each end, and pull them up to those bits of 4x2 and clamp them on. And what I've done on this end, because I cut the top of this support raft, or whatever you call it, support joist, I cut it the same pitch as the rafters. So basically the rafter will just come flush with the top of this. What I've done is taken a rough measurement on this rafter and screwed a tab on, so hopefully that tab should just sit on there. So that's one end I haven't got to hold, and then I should just be able to roughly get it in position and then clamp it onto those 4x2. So let's see how we get on with that. Yeah, hopefully you can see I've kind of set the camera up on the end of the scaffold. I can't go any further back, so it might wobble a bit because it's on the scaffold, but I'm doing my best. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Fingers crossed it's going to work as well. Right, clamp. Let's go. Right, let's get up and have a look. Right, so hopefully that tab will sit on that one there. Going well so far. Sort of I'm guessing here a little bit. Just drop off that tab. Let's try that. Clamp it there and see what that looks like. Right, that's one in. Try the other one now. Not bad. Not a million miles out there, I don't think. Let's have a look at that. Okay. Not bad. Not bad at all. Just a little bit more. Right. Yeah. So actually, when we have a quick look here, just having that tab on the top here allowed this one to sort of move up and down. I was a bit of a guess, to be honest. I could have measured it, but yeah, not too bad. These clamps holding up here. That's not too bad in there. Bearing in mind that's only, you know, it's not a finished barge board. Could have probably got that a bit tighter, but I'm not going to sweat too much about that. I'll probably shrink and open up more than that. But this is going to have a barge under here and a fascia on here, so I'm not that worried. So yeah, that's looking pretty good. What's it looking lining in with the roof? Not bad. It's a bit low, so I suspect it's dropped down a little bit on those 4x2s. So that's okay. I can run a better line through there. I think what I'm going to do for now is probably just spike these ridges together here, and the whole thing can sort of lift up and down to get it so it works right in the plane of the roof. So it's good. Yeah, happy with that. Go on, mate. Get a grip. There we go. Right, get that straightened up a bit, which must be lifted up there a bit, yes, okay. So just by hook or by crook, I've got that where it needs to be. It's one of the sort of downsides, there's nice and flush look. Downsides of working on your own, it's sometimes, I'm not being moaner, but it's sometimes hard. I had to lift that up. I've got this rod down into the brickwork there. I just needed to prop this up, but I had to prop it up, hold it, clamp it, and hold a screw and screw at the same time. But fortunately I managed to sort of do it with a mixture of sort of clamps and my elbow and stuff. So I'm happy that this external rafter here, or this last rafter, barge rafter, whatever you want to call it, now runs nicely in line with the roof. So I'm really pleased with that. So I'm just trying to work out now, we're going to have a soffit detail under here. So I've measured 500mm back, and I'll put another rafter in. Where is it? I can't even see that. I'll put another rafter in at this point, which the soffit will then come under that, and then the window will fit up to the soffit. But the thing that I need to concentrate on now is we've got a line. This will be internally lined, and we need to get some insulation under here. I mean, this will be packed full of insulation anyway, but we'll have to use some insulation here. We'll also have to use a vapor control there as well. But that's for the internal guys. So I'm going to come at least 30mm below here, you know, so we can get some high performance insulation in there. So I think what I'm going to do is pack out the web here with some noggins, and then put a batten on that hangs down the 30mm. So then that will then take, we'll do the similar thing on the inside. That will then take the insulation and plasterboard, and then that should bridge across the gap to the back side of the external, to the back side of the window frame, if that makes sense. So it's all a little bit of head scratching, but I've got to think about the insulation and cladding this before I end up putting that the next rafter in to take the soffit. Otherwise, obviously, I won't be able to get in there. So I think I've got it. It's hard sometimes to get it all in your brain, and I tend to find that it's best to try not to look at the whole picture, just break it down into smaller chunks, and it sometimes just unfolds in front of you. So I'll get on with that now. Look at that, flying overhead. Lost it now. So that's got those. I use these were the bits of 4x2 I use as a temporary brace over the top. I know they're not in one length, but you know, with the cost of timber and everything at the minute, we really need to be looking at, you know, using the timber that we've got, and if it means a little join in there, it's not the end of the world. So I'm happy with that now. I've dropped this down 30mm, which means the insulation can come in underneath this steel, plasterboard can be tacked to it. We can pack this with insulation, the other side with insulation, which is why I've left that sort of open there like that. So now I can go ahead and put this next set of rafters in to take what's going to be the soffit running through. So yes, looking good, coming together. This is really, really strong up here. I'm really happy with how strong this is. I'll probably swing on it a bit later if I can and show you. But yeah, please, that's going to be strong enough. It's only taking, as I said earlier, it's only taking some slate, and the soffit will just be probably hollow, plastic, so it's not taking any weight. If anything, perhaps it's more likely that the wind's going to get under it. So, I'm happy with that. That's nice and solid. Let's have a quick look and see how strong this is. Shall we? Get any flex on it. Bearing in mind this is all sort of working together. Let's go. Look at that. I'm 100 kilos, and that's taking my weight. No flex whatsoever. So, yeah, really happy with that. I'm just cutting a couple of noggins just to stiffen up that sort of eaves detail. Then I'm just sort of coming across this timber. I thought it'd just worth showing you. This timber here was the stuff that I got from a supplier that I use, and it's untreated, and you can see the grain pattern, how that goes. This has been sort of left out in the same environment in terms of weather as this the later stuff that we got that was treated, and you can see that this is still fairly stable. This has been a very, very good stuff to work with. Now, this other stuff that I got in, the customer got in, I should say, has been treated, and I'm just going to show you what's sort of happening to it, and it sort of can clearly illustrate why it's happening. So if you look on the end here, you can clearly see how it's cupping. Look, and you can see that with the grain, it's going to cup that way anyway. But there's also another reason it's done that, and it's quite clear to see by the colour of the timber. If we have a look at this, this is a sort of darker colour, but if we turn it over, you can see, look, it's much lighter. So this was the top side, and this was the bottom side, and this is what happens when the sun gets on it. It makes it darken down. So you can clearly see that this side hasn't had the sun on it, and this side has, and as a result, it's dried this side out quicker than this side and caused it to cup like that. So these are some of the things that we have to sort of work with as a carpenter. Some timbers, and sometimes it's treated as well, are more susceptible to this kind of cupping, as they dry out. But as I said, this has sort of had probably aggressive sunshine on one side, and it's had no air to the other side, and it's, of course, look, it's caused it to cup like that. So, kind of thing we just kind of have to work with, really, and hopefully we get all of our work done before the weather sort of has time to do its thing on it. But all of this structure here, until it gets covered in, it really is always at the mercy of the weather, really. And even when it's covered in, and then the central heating goes on, and then it gets baked again. So that's why you get cracking, and ultimately when you have lots of timber in these types of structures. So here we are on top of the roof, up on the ridge, and actually got to do something across the top here for the roofer to fix his ridge to. So I was going to try, this is a 24-degree pitch, I was going to try and rip a fillet down on my saw, but it looks like it's going to be really, really hard going, and it's only about 30 mil high in the middle. So all I'm going to do is use some of the offcuts of this 7x2. It's about 30 mil by obviously 45, and I'm just going to rip that small angle either side of that and put it dead in the centre, and that'll just give him enough to catch his the top of his top slate, and also fix down his ridge into. So I'll get on with that now using the aerial shot table saw. see how useful this tool is. I mean, you know, I know that you can do a lot of things with a track saw, but you can't do that with a track saw. Really, really handy for making up sort of little profiles like that. So I've now got to fix that onto the top of the ridge. So to get the profile for this little fillet piece that I need to sit on top of the ridge to take the ridge tile, and what I did is just sat a piece of timber on. If you imagine this was sat on the steel on top, and then I just pushed, then all I did was run a level up the side of the rafters and drew that line, and what that gives me, and this is the shape it should be. Obviously there's no point me going to great lengths to cut a fillet like this, because ultimately you can't really fix much out of the centre section anyway, because it's only 30mm there. But the point I'm getting to is that when you've got to cut a profile, it's sometimes nice and easy to make a pattern like that. And then you see I set the saw, and this is the test piece I made, and when we put the test piece in, so when I put the test piece in, you can see that it fits exactly. You can see that it fits exactly the pencil marks that we drew from on top of the roof. So we know that that's going to fit an absolute treat. Again, because I started my apprenticeship as a joiner, you know, we were always making like rods and mock-ups and things that you could direct measure off it. It's just a way of, you know, you seeing what you're actually getting, and it keeps it nice and accurate as well. So, nearly completed another day. The wind's getting up, so sorry if there's lots of wind noise. Kind of feel like I've been bogged down a bit in that today, but there's been a lot of work and a lot of head scratching, but I'm happy with it now. And as I said earlier, there's a 900 return of brickwork on this side, so I've matched it so that you know, the rafters and the barge detail comes the same distance, so it looks even. Where the flat roof goes in, that'll go in a bit higher up, and that'll be lead dressed down. It's difficult to explain without putting it up there, but hopefully you'll see when I come to do that. So yeah, I'm happy with how that's all gone. Actually, it's really, really strong. I'm really happy with that. The guy's coming in the morning to put the external lintel, steel lintel on, which then means that I can get hold of the joinery manufacturer guy, and he's got some actual definite points that he can come and mark. He can come and measure for this gable window. I think he's on 8 to 10 weeks lead time on that, so as soon as we get that ordered, the better. But obviously we don't want to rush it, because you know, if that comes wrong, A, it's a lot of wasted time, and B, I doubt it's cheap. So I'm really happy. There's a couple of bits of bobs I've just got to trim off, and that's going to have maybe a cedar or a larch cladding to the soffit, and it will have a cedar or larch barge boards on there as well. So I think when the oak frame goes in and the oak doors go in, I think that'll look really, really nice. So I think, as I said previously, I'm just going to get some self-tapping screws to screw down this little section of a fillet that I've just got to screw to the ridge, and then the next job will be to trim off the raft feet on that end, because the roof is going to come and just fly batten it in the next couple of days, just to get it dry. And actually the way that the steels are oriented with those timbers in, they will collect rain. So if we get downpour rain, the rain will collect in these webs. It's not the end of the world, but obviously, you know, we don't want timber sat in water. So yeah, as I said, next phase. So as I said, yeah, trimming off the raft feet over there, and then the next big job is going to be make a start on this flat roof section. So I hope I haven't repeated too much of what I've shown already, and thanks for watching.